Hey guys, what's up? It's Amy and welcome back to my channel. We have adjusted reading goals and I hope that I can achieve them this month. I have a slightly adjusted TBR. It's way less than I think I've planned to read. We want to be realistic. I'm going to be away for a whole week where I probably won't have time to read, but I still want to reach my goals. Here's my TBR for this month. Let's get started. If you have seen my last video, you probably know that one of my biggest goals this year is that I want to read more classics. Classical fiction and classical books are books that I've always been really fascinated with. I've never read any of them except for the ones that we have had in school. But first of all, they are German classics, and second of all, whenever you read something in school, especially in Germany, it's most likely so boring that you never want to read this book again, even though it's a great book. So I decided to go for classic English literature, and most of the time it is that I know what the book is about and then I know what the plot twists are and I know how it's happening and how things end, but I haven't read the book itself. I picked a book to begin with that I have heard of. I don't really know what it's about, or I mean I know what it's about, but I don't know the plot twists of the story, and I also don't know how it's going to end. So I picked Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I assume that you, as a good reading person, know what this book is about. I actually have to read from the back because I don't exactly know. It's a story of an intelligent woman who refuses to accept her appointed place in society and instead finds love on her own terms. This book has become famous as one of the greatest books ever written, but it is also a brooding gothic mystery. And I'm actually very excited to read this. I picked this out because if you don't know anything about what I'm currently working on, I'm currently concepting and writing a TV show about a young woman in the 50s. When I picked out this book, it reminded me so much of, you know, my strong lead character who is a female and she is also refusing. I'm also kind of hanging my plants here. My story is also about a young woman who is not really accepting her appointed place in society, and she's kind of breaking up these stigmas about what she has to be and who she has to be. And yeah, I'm actually excited to read this as my first classics, and don't know if I will start with this book this month or I don't know. I'm just very excited to read this. Next up, we have a book that I've had on my TBR for 2 months now, and it is The Song of Achilles. I have actually started reading this book last year. I am halfway through the book. I haven't made a video on that yet, but this is actually one of the books that I typically won't pick or won't read, just because the topic itself is interesting, but it's not really the genre that I would usually read. But if you don't know what this book is about, it's about Achilles and Patroclus and their relationship and their friendship and their history. It is fictional, based on Greek mythology, but this is basically how they want to free Helen after she has been kidnapped. So yeah, this is all about that story, and I've heard only good things about this book. And I have to admit, at first I had some trouble starting to read this because it's not the genre that I would typically read, you know? I mean, I'm halfway through and it started to get interesting, but then I don't know why I stopped, can't really tell, but I'm hoping to finish this month. And I think this will be a good read for the train. And then the next 2 books are actually German, and unfortunately don't have an English copy yet. If you are interested in what I'm reading, keep on watching, or if you're German or if you can understand German, I think I can highly recommend reading these 2 books because they have been fascinating me. First book is The Sisters of Kudum. This is the second part to the trilogy. I have read the first book last month. If you've seen it, I know it's been the only book that I've read. This book is the one that I'm most excited for, and this book is the reason why I bought the first part as well, because this book starts in the year 1952. It is set in Berlin, and it is all about the 3 sisters, Rike, Sylvie and Florentine. The first book is set, if you can watch this video here to see what the first book is about, but they basically live in the economic boom times in Germany, post-war Germany, in Berlin, which was separated. You had West Berlin and East Berlin, and 2 completely different societies. It is all about these 3 ladies who have completely different lives, but they live in the same city and they are in the same family. And I'm so excited to read this book. This is the time period that my show that I'm currently writing is set in. So I love reading books about this time, and I'm so excited to read this book. Especially because the first book was all about how the mindset was and how they achieved the economic boom, and now they're living in the economic boom, and it's all about, yeah, basically the spirit and everything and how life was back then. And I'm just very excited to read this book. Even though the first book had some flaws, but I'm still excited to read this. And the thing I'm most excited for is they actually have a very detailed timeline in the back that is all about the things that happened in Germany in that year and that were important for Germany. And I'm so excited because there's so much 1954 stuff. So I think I will continue reading this because I just finished the first part. And then last but not least, we have another German book that I mean, I say this for every single book, but I'm so excited to read this. It is called Altusson, and it's written by Ewald Ahrens. First of all, I know, don't judge a book by its cover, and I've seen this book for I think over a year now in my bookstores. Every single time I've seen it, I was like, oh, this book looks so great, but it's probably nothing that I would want to read. I never even turned it around because I didn't want to judge a book by its cover, and I didn't want it to get upset that it's nothing that I would like to read because I enjoyed looking at the cover so much. So one day I turned it around, and it is a story that I hope and think I will enjoy to read. It is basically about Sally and Liz, and Sally and Liz are two young women. Liz is also kind of a loner, and she has her own farm. From the beginning on, whenever they met, they felt like a strong connection to each other, so they start to work together on Liz's farm. You know, they start to talk about themselves and start to open up a bit, and in the end they actually realize how strong their friendship really is. I'm just so excited to read this. I think I enjoy the concept of this book, and yeah, this book sits on my bookshelf for 2 or 3 months now, but I wanted to save it for the right moment and I want to really enjoy it, so I am so excited to finally read this. And that is all that I have on my TBR for this month. I know it's not as much as probably others would have, but honestly I don't care what others do. I want to read at my own pace, and now that this is actually on the internet, I think I put a good amount of pressure on myself, like positive pressure, don't worry, it's nothing, I would never pressure myself to do something because it's on the internet, but this is like some positive pressure for myself to get my ass up or down and read. I have to read, I want to read. This is something that I enjoy, but I just don't take as much time as I would love to do. Let's see how this month will go. I have another backup book that I might read if I finish all of them, which I don't think will happen, but you can dream. That is it for this video. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Hope that you maybe find some inspiration in these books. Anyway, with that being said, thank you. Wait, the German came through there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!